Yeah, I need to have all the beverages. They make me feel safe, I think.
It's good. It's because you love yourself. They say that you love yourself. You prep yourself your little tea, your
There's
favorite
no tea in that.
before
There's some coffee.
Coffee. My favorite coffee made just how I like it.
Just how I like it.
Mm-hmm. It's when you love yourself, when you give yourself little things like that, you know.
And my sparkly
water.
It's my favorite.
All right.
Hi. All right.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Cool.
Yes, I am okay. I'm doing good. We got the Zeuser man here.
We got Zeus.
He's our mascot.
The Roddy Rumble. You may hear him in the background a little bit.
We don't edit that out because that's real life. He's our boy.
That's a form of once again, vibration. Hearing his breathing. It's good. It's rhythmic. It's good for you. Puppy love.
Puppy love. We love him.
So
proud of him.
Hope you guys are all doing well. Thank you for following.
We are so grateful. We
yes.
are like, I'm totally geeked out. I think it's so incredible.
Yes.
I love how this connection has come about just so randomly. It was so in human design, I'm a manifesting generator. Anyways, it's like full body stuff. Like that's how I always respond. And Nannette was like, let's do this. And it was a full body yes, instantly followed by like oh fuck. I don't know. Should we have said yes? I mean, it's a yes, but like no. So it's getting easier. I think this is our biggest episode yet. It's super geeky, and it's so what happens is we think that we know stuff about the body, and we do know stuff. I mean, there's hard science stuff on the body, but there are things that we are still learning about that we don't know about the body. So we need to remain really flexible as we're learning about the body, and to make sure that we're not holding on too tight to what we believe in one centered thought process, that we're like, we can take in new information, understand it, analyze it, and see where it fits into the work that we do. Fascia has been a part of my work for a long time now. And it's incorporated into almost all of my sessions. And even now, digging in to the research as we were prepping for this podcast, because we didn't want it to be like superficial information.
We're exploring ourselves too.
Right. We're growing. We're challenging what we know about fascia, and like, I would say almost surface level, even though I have a deep understanding of it, this next level was even more.
Yeah, this is a little bit different.
Yeah, so stay open. It's fucking, I say it all the time, the body's so effing brilliant.
Yes.
Fascia was, until 50 years ago, just thrown away when they were doing autopsies and work on the body. But like, you're like, oh, 50 years ago. Okay, can I please remind you that 50 years ago was only 1975?
Yeah, it's not
like
that long ago.
I'm like, oh, 50 years. But then I say 1975 and I'm like, that's like not that long ago.
It's not that long ago, yeah. It's all fairly new.
So it's really fairly new. And then getting people to research it and invest in understanding this aspect of our body that is not just a muscle. I mean, it's not a muscle, but it's so much deeper than, that. So I'm really excited.
An important system, an important organ.
It's an organ. So I think that's a great point, that it's not just, it is a system. It is an organ, and it is connective tissue.
Yes.
And just a side note, that it can take 13 years for new information to be added to like medical textbooks and stuff. So think about how outdated, if you were to go to medical school, how outdated some of that information is, even if it's being put in. So I think as we're dealing with these new levels of chronic conditions and lifestyle diseases that are 100% preventable and reversible, that we stay open and understand that, and have patience with the doctors and stuff, because they may not be as forward thinking. They're going from what they learned in school, but how outdated that information may be.
Yes.
And I think that's why we're seeing such huge like programs and stuff, this exploration of different things that are working for different people. Because some of us have, without the medical background, just have so much more information, because we weren't tied to that.
And then the medical is also, it's different. It's approach with pharmacology, so it's a little bit different. So even in those 50 years since fascia started coming to the surface, it's recognizing, kind of understanding what it is, understanding the knowledge, and then trying to do something with that knowledge, like techniques that have come to rise, and movement, and what movements stimulate fascia more, and how much, what stretches work, what doesn't. So this is still being explored quite a bit, so it's learning it, studying it, recognizing it, and then going through a process of creating something and doing something with it to,
absolutely,
to heal the fascia, or to help,
heal the body, because nothing works in isolation.
Yes, nothing works in isolation. So yes, understand that you're going to see techniques rising a little bit more on fascia and addressing fascia and the nervous system, and autonomic system, somatic stuff, relaxation techniques, mindset that's going to be more geared towards fascia. Even mindset training geared towards fascia. I think we're going to see that too on the rise, because we're going to talk about fascia today, not just in movement, because Malia and I have practiced it a lot in movement and training, and recognizing the lines and moving in certain ways to unspiral and lengthen posterior, deep chain lines. This is different. And I see mindset, meditation, and breathing techniques geared towards that, because fascia is a huge sensory organ, which we'll talk about that. So it responds a lot to your emotions, your feelings, and also proprioception is involved, which we spoke about. So it goes beyond movement,
And no one lives a stress-free life. The question is, how do we handle it in a health-enhancing manner, rather than breaking down our resilience? Our resilience is a state of the body that reflects our emotional state of mind. So new understandings of how our whole system interacts, that gives us these methods of self-regulation and energy management, which asks us to expand out from what we normally
are used to doing. Yeah, physical stuff, just moving, just doing stretches and unilateral stuff is not going to be enough to address pain, discomfort, and movement patterns even. So it's going to take other stuff. That's why I mentioned that. I think resiliency training, mindfulness, breathing techniques, relaxation techniques are going to ramp up as stress ramps up, and as people feel more discomfort, more pain, and can address it through movement.
And I think we've addressed this, but it's so important to know that our stress adapts. Our nervous system, the body is so adaptable that as we adapt to these things, getting back to that more regulated state is very uncomfortable if we haven't been there or know how to be in a calm state. I know I've actually said this before, because I'm so passionate about people really understanding that if you are in this heightened state and someone tells you to sit down and meditate for 20 minutes, that it's just not going to happen. Again, I work with clients that start with 1 minute, so minute and a half.
Yeah, now reading this, so much involved.
You have to get more familiar and feel safe in a calm state. That takes time.
Yeah.
And I think it's so fluffed over in so many of the practices. Oh, just let go. Well, motherfucker, if it was that damn easy,
so much,
we would all be chill, but we're not.
Yeah, when we talk about fascia, we're going to be seeing it as a form of mindset, of mental resiliency, of proprioceptive awareness of how you're moving, of interoception, how you're feeling on the daily. Right, that's where it's going to make a big difference. And
I can only speak to that because of my current state and I've noticed an instant pull in my patterns. Like, I was so far out of my patterns, I was like, I'm doing so good. Like, my movement patterns and habitual patterns.
It's not going to save you.
The minute shit hit the fan, my body was like, ah!
Yes. And then
I was like, okay.
We're going to talk about Robert. What is this lovely man? Yes.
So fascia is an expression of the body's innate intelligence. And I found that somewhere. I didn't get a quote or anything, but I just thought that was like, so what is fascia? Like, what is fascia actually?
Made of
connective tissue. Clearly, we all know that it's a connective tissue. Nannette will put up a picture.
collagen, gooey cellular matrix that binds tissues together. Specialized cells called fibroblasts produce collagen that become fascia. And among the layers of fascia is a liquid called hyaluronan,
Which is like hyaluronic.
Yep, acid. You got it. So, but it goes beyond that now, where they're recognizing all the nerve endings that it carries. So,
And that's also glycosaminoglycans.
don't mind us. These
and
are hard
that's
words.
what give it strength, elasticity, and the hydration. So fascia contains 6 to 10 times more sensory nerves than a muscle.
Yes.
I'll say that again. 6 to 10 times more sensory nerves than your muscles, which leads us to understand that a lot of the times it's not actually the muscle that we're feeling, it's the fascia.
Also, it says fascia houses 250 million nerve endings, making it the largest sensory organ in the body.
Yep.
So
I read that too. And I think that
in the last year, we were able to make a very thorough calculation on the total number of sensory nerve endings in what we call the body-wide fascial net. So that includes the loose connective tissue under the skin. It includes the fascial tissues around the viscera, not just the muscles. And we came to the prediction that it's probably 250 million sensory nerve endings in the body-wide fascial net. And then it's very, very clear this is not just a tissue that is innervated, it's a sensory organ. Not only that, it is our richest sensory organ of all. So even the skin has less, even the sense of seeing, which most people thought is the primary sense in Homo sapiens. So for the dog, it's smelling, but for humans, we assume.
and I think that's so interesting. And those nerve endings, 40% of them are sympathetic in nature, and 60% of them are parasympathetic in nature, which is why I give so much homework of rolling, especially before bed if people have problems sleeping, because it's going to activate and support that parasympathetic to help you sleep, to relax the body, to maybe not be so caught in overdrive at bedtime.
this is so
Like
true.
that's so profound, you know, like what?
Yes, this is absolutely true. It is profound. So let's see what else we're getting here.
So fascia will definitely have an impact. We forgot the suit.
No worries.
We'll have to pause and get the suit.
We'll pause and get the suit.
Impact your ranges of motion.
Yes.
Right? If you have matted tissue, especially think of if you had surgery. One of the reasons they get so many people up and moving after surgery is because if that fascia that isn't mobilized right away, it will begin to dry up. It will create an adhesion, and it will get really sticky, and it will begin to impair your movement and your ranges of motion. So that's why after surgery, so much they are getting you up and moving and doing things so that the body doesn't restrict your movements.
It moves and transfers force throughout your body. So it really guides your body into where you're putting pressure and how you're recoiling when you're taking steps or whatnot. So it's sensing all of this and is also sending force transmission. So it's an action of sending, electrical impulses, but also actually moving and transferring weight and force. So it has both,
Yeah, so when the fascia is in this force transmission, like if we're going to stick with that, if it affects our ability to move and move freely and expansively, and it begins to compress the body, this is going to influence your emotions, right? This is going to influence the emotional body, even though, we think of them being separate. They 100% are not separate. And the new science is showing is that the more dried out, the more The less movement you have of fascia, the more it's going to inhibit and restrict your emotions as well.
Yes, of course.
And that will be very important to show when we show you in the suit.
Yes, sensory organs. So you're going to start shutting down a lot of stuff.
Yes, that force transmission is, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but if it's dehydrated, it's not transferring the force.
It's not an imbalance.
It gets into a wall.
But imagine you're sensing things incorrectly. Forces are out of balance. You know, the awareness is not really there because the body gets a little confused. The body's like, what's going on?
And it's going to take the path of least resistance.
Exactly. It's just, it's
So
kind of just like,
yep. And I think that's so important. I remember in one of the programs I did, they talk about, that part of the body will shut down because the hydration's not there for the connective tissues, the nerves. If it's not being stimulated, the body will find a way to communicate, but it'll go around that space. So if we don't turn that back on through, I love self-myofascial balls because it opens up that communication and that release therapy.
A feedback.
To open up that feedback and get it back online. Otherwise, that part of the body may stay offline for a long time.
Yes, compensation or whatnot. And once again, it's like a holistic approach to movement, meaning you're seeing the body moving as a whole, at a physical level, at an emotional level, at an awareness level. So it's going to throw you in general now understanding more of the sensory and the receptors and the nerve endings and how it communicates with us a lot more than just muscles. Yeah. More dysfunction that's created, the more dysfunctional the person can feel and become, both in movement and also in like awareness and control of body and just
and mental and emotional.
Mental and emotional is going to be already shot out. The body is already in a state of But in the opposite, this is I was mentioning that more towards at a physical level, but it talks a lot about interoception.
Oh, perfect. That's exactly where I'm at in my notes.
Exactly. So that's at a physical level, like injuries that can cause a lot, like she said, it can start to cause emotional, just discomfort, setbacks. And being in pain because of old injuries is not going to help you emotionally. Like being in pain is going to cause despair, uncomfortable feelings. You're going to tense. You're going to have this very poor relationship with your body. From mind.
And I had a client yesterday, so funny we bring this up, called, and she has been dealing with these issues, multiple doctors. And it was, it's so much, it was physical pain, but not like stopping her from like keeping her bed bound or anything. It was, when we were talking, it was the mental and emotional that she was at her wit's end with.
Yes.
More so, yes, the pain, but not like overwhelmingly pain.
Like just mad at this point.
Yeah.
Just
and then
angry.
no one could help her, that she didn't have the answer she was looking for. And how are you a fitness professional when you can't, get yourself better?
Exactly.
And so I really, so that I think is so perfect that I had that conversation yesterday so we can talk about that our injuries and our body is a mental and emotional thing as much as, of course, the physical.
Have, with yourself, with your body, Our boy Robert talks a lot about the self and the awareness of it.
Well, interoception.
So, interoception.
Internal.
Let's get into that.
Yeah, go.
That's where so the interoception. How you wake up feeling. If you wake up feeling a little bit angry, more tense, your sensory organ system that now is recognized, fascia is going to also tense with that internal emotion. You understand? It's responding. And then you want to explain the nerve endings a little bit more. You explained it to me much better in the table. We were having breakfast.
It's my favorite.
We were having breakfast talking about this. So,
so the interoception. Okay, so through the piezoelectric property, piezoelectric is a property, and it's the way the electromagnetic communication of the body. It generates these small electrical signals that are transmitting this information, physical and emotional. But interoception is associated with free nerve endings. So in the body, in the fascia, are these millions, would you said 250 million nerve endings. And a majority of those for interoception is free nerve endings. And the free nerve endings also have to do with our physiology. And proprioception, like where our body senses itself in space, are closed nerve endings. So I thought they were capped.
250 million free nerve endings is quite a bit.
So, I mean, it's like insane.
I hope you wake up feeling good, because your 250 million nerve endings are going to feel it. Bruce Lee, my boy, I'm going to put him up there.
You love him.
He says, you never talk bad about yourself, not even a little bit. Your body feels every single, your cell feels that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was thinking about that yesterday morning.
Yes, Bruce Lee was something else. I'll put him on there. He's totally inspo. But he spoke about that. Never speak bad about yourself, because in now understanding and it's so interesting because it controls your muscles and your movements. So you can say movement is very, like we spoke about, emotional intelligence and kinesthetic intelligence. Mm-hmm. So, it's a combination of both, how you're feeling, how you're thinking, and then, being able to drive these movements. So
well, and that's one of the reasons that yoga makes people feel so well, because the fascia needs to be stretched. It's actually a stretch. The sensory nerves are actually stretch sensory markers. So when you reach, when you're stretching, you add in, I won't take this from you, but then that's going to tap into like rotational qualities where you're really reaching across and around the body. Highly speaking into yoga, like what are you doing when you're reaching, you're stretching, you're breathing. So that really helps your fascia and your mental and emotional health, which we know that from yoga, but like this is like
more science driven.
Why that's happening is because the sensory nerves, interoception, one, what is yoga? Interoception. Two, stretch sensory endings are the majority of the fascia.
Exactly.
So I thought that was just so incredible.
Very good information for the yoga teachers out there.
Also, I think it's one of the reasons why FT works so well.
Yes.
Because the fascia.
Interoception too.
Yes, because you are totally, it's an interoceptive practice, but you're lifting that fascia and stretching that fascia and holding it in this expanded state, which allows it, especially the fascia, to unwind the patterns in the poses and positions that we use.
Especially
in
in
your breathing.
I love isometrics.
I love foundation training.
Isometrics are very overlooked.
Oh my gosh, yes. But
completely, but they're so good. Isometric stretch loaded, like FT, and there's other poses too that can put you in these positions, but holding it is how you start to create that more mental connection, gives you time to tap in,
and allows your nervous system
to tap in,
unwind.
Exactly. And then you're able to work a little bit better, and you give yourself a little bit more time to connect to your movement. As we know, it's also that interoception, and that's why I mentioned working out and the mind being somewhere, and you it's like what? Mm-hmm. So very good information for the yoga teachers to know this and understand this. A lot of them do work with clients and students who are looking to find some sort of healing with yoga, and it's yoga gives us the tools to do so, and with the understanding of the science, you can definitely pick the right tools and help people a lot. I would say yoga, and then FT, a lot of people know about FT, right. But yoga,
we're bringing the heat.
Yes, it's bringing in all those aspects of breathing, mindfulness, tapping into your awareness, how you are feeling, and also moving your body in these dynamic ways that move fascia tissue. So,
and I think when we think of that too, that we always think, oh, so serious and so like, ooh, it can also be fun. Like it doesn't have to be this heavy thing. Like it can be light and free and happy and joyful movement. But
dancing can enter into that.
All kinds of stretching and dancing.
Yeah.
I love dance.
Say African dance and belly dance is also very good for that stuff. So I think African dance stimulates one thing, belly dance stimulates something else. I'll have to look into it. I'll probably put it up there, or a clip of the podcast that talks about that too. So
just to note that it is back to the sensory organ, more sensitive and more sensory nerves than our actual skin.
Yes.
So I
have the client more than our skin. I said yes. Our eyes more than the eyes.
Sticking with the interoception, let's move into emotions, and then we'll move into like the physical stuff.
Yeah. Let's talk about emotions.
I like to think about your fascia much like a computer stores data. The fascia will hold your emotional experiences, and sensations are the fascia responding to the emotional stimuli. So for our yoga friends and anybody who, I mean, this is all over in the world, but your issues are in your tissues. A lot of people don't understand that, or they just flippantly repeat it, but it's not so much that it's in your muscles. The trauma, the experiences, the emotional responses are in the fascia of the body. So that myofascial continuum is able to stimulate the areas of the brain that deal with your emotional state. So your fascia is signaling and in communication through those electrical magnetic communications with the emotional controls of the brain, your amygdala, your hippocampus, your hypothalamus, that limbic cortex. So I think that is so beautiful and can kind of close that gap of understanding what that means. Your issues are in your tissues. And I really want, that's that closing gap. That's actually how the science behind the issues are in your tissues. Just like I'm going to get a massage today.
Yes.
Woo, Marta, I can't wait.
Yes.
But manual treatments really activate, obviously, that interoceptive
of
system.
course. Looking at the
and now I think this is really important too. Our experiences, big trauma, big T trauma, little t trauma is encoded in the fascia. The sympathetic nervous system tightens to protect the vital systems and organs of the body. And it should become viable and loose again after. But a lot of times we don't do the work to loosen it. So, and my favorite explanation of this, and I know there's a video somewhere, that if an animal is being chased for its life and it outruns the lion, right? And now it feels safe. What is the first thing the animal does?
Rust.
It shakes.
We're gonna rust.
It shakes. Like it shakes its body, it shakes its leg. It's shaking out that energy of the sympathetic nervous system in that animal. And then once it shakes and like gives itself a reset, it then goes on with its day because it's reset that nervous system. And you've ever been in a car accident? Did you get out of your car and like shake around? No, you got out of your car, you continued the situation, then you went home and you were in this heightened state. We oftentimes, not everyone of course, but we don't take that time to reset. So that just builds into that, what am I thinking? Nervous system adaptability. And so now that's another experience that we didn't fully release or move through. And then it just adds up into this sympathetic driven human.
Shoo, tense fascias. You have to come down for that. There's work for that. Like Malia said,
that's all I got on that.
Just reading interesting stuff. Like this is very neuromyofascial communication is essential for human movement and overall well-being. Fascia plays a crucial role in blood flow, biomechanical process, and intercellular communication. It is the body's first line of defense against pathogenic agents and infections after injuries. So it's a huge protective layer. There's a lot of communication, everything.
Muscle, bone, organ, all of it.
It's so important at so many levels. So cool, so fascinating. I'm going to put all the research up there too.
Yeah, we have lots of where we found this information, and
it's not much on there. It's coming up now.
It's upcoming. We had to dig for this. Like we had to work for this.
Yeah, this is tough.
We had those 2 weeks of intense like research to come and provide you with this information.
Yeah. If you have any clips of podcasts or anything you want me to play out for them, I'll also play out, or other people, other experts talking. I'm going to put this Robert guy.
I was just going to say that one.
Robert is fantastic.
No, not other podcasts. There wasn't many podcasts on it. I was actually surprised the one that you found.
Hard. Yeah.
And a lot of Tom Meyer stuff is not as public as, it's always in his courses and stuff.
And he stays very at a physical level.
Right.
This is a little bit different. He does stay at a physical level. This is quite different. Robert is a little bit more in the content, spiritual seeker.
Yes.
He said he went and studied with all the gurus.
And he wanted I love that he understands, like, he was like, I went to become enlightened. And he goes, that was so stupid of me.
That didn't work.
That didn't work. I was like, correct.
The biomechanics. And now we are learning from the psychological research happening on interoception. You have much more body signaling happening that is related to your physiological body condition. How warm is your leg? How alive are you? How hungry, how young, how old do you feel when you get up in the morning? How inspired are you when you sit with another person at dinner and they turn you on and you feel, wow, your aliveness bubbling up. So this bubbliness, the sense of tranquility, the sense of tiredness after a long hike, these are all interoceptive sensations. And interoception comes largely from the fascial network, but then from different free nerve endings and also from different regions. Usually it's more the connective tissue around the guts.
But we've all
so
been
he's
there.
fantastic, very jolly man. So
and he's German.
German, yes.
Lovely
super
man.
Jolly. Lovely.
And I also noticed, which I love so much as we sit here and talk to you, he stood the entire podcast.
Yes, he's standing kind of side to side a little bit, and he's going back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
He's moving his energy everywhere.
Our asses, he's sitting down, talking.
I know, but he's also talking about, that's where the recoil comes into place, this elastic storage and recoil. He talks about that really quickly. And they asked him, what are you looking to do in the future? And he talks about like exploring these bouncy, fun movements with the more aging population, because it's changing their, energy, their awareness is bringing back movement into their body. And that's how he's working with Fascia right now, is exploring happy, jolly, bouncy movements with the aging population, which is so pioneering. Like nobody's doing that. Like it makes total sense though. Yeah.
Dancing, cross body stuff, like happy music. Carol stuff, my client, that client of mine is, and it makes her so happy. You can see that and it will stick better.
Yes.
When she has that bounce, the happy music,
it's
we do the
electrical
dancing.
Impulses, it's sensory system firing, it's proprioception, it's things that, and then the interoception with the happiness, Cool.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Love that. Listen, that's good stuff. You work with more of the aging population. I think that's 100%. Super cool.
Absolutely.
So
now I have constrictions.
Okay.
And
go over that?
Sure. Yeah. So this is definitely more back into our physical, out of the emotional and interoception and back into the physical. What happens when we have these adhesions is that the collagen and the water begin to dry up. The hyaluronic, I call it hyaluronic,
yes,
is
correct.
Dehydrating. And so it's not conducting energy. So inflammation and trauma that we experience will dry that up. And I think, inflammation is such a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, because of all the science coming forward and then the understanding, and it's definitely my reality. I have a few friends who really study inflammation. But it's damaging the fascia. So when it's tightening, it's restricting. Our body is
nerve endings, the blood flow, the production of collagen. So it becomes stagnant. It's kind of
stagnant.
It's like a dead section. There's no activity there.
So you have less efficiency, and healing can be a little bit more difficult.
It makes sense with injuries. Like I work with a lot of clients that have old injuries, some tough injuries, like big accident where the foot was very affected and caught on a door, so I can see how that area can become so affected in the long run, even more so, like getting blood flow there, getting nerve endings to recommute, getting all that area to just, sometimes it may or may not, if there's a really extreme accident like that, where you almost had, lost a limb or an area, it can be very hard to restore all of that. You have to be very consistent with therapy and movement and working that area and recirculating blood. That client of mine that I have, and specifically, she does do a lot of stuff. She does all the acupuncture, the fascia release, the cupping, the tissues, really trying to get back flow and just
Communication.
bringing that back to life. And a lot of training too, a lot of footwork and training and just reawakening that. So
I did read a statistic that said 85% of our pain is due to fascia restrictions.
yeah, absolutely.
I think that was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So it's going to compress all that area. It's going to tighten. It's the web. It's the elastic web. It's going to shrink up shoulders, shrink up muscles, tighten.
And when you're in the suit, you'll be able to, it's such a good visual.
Let's get on the suit and we'll keep talking.
All right.
I'm going to change and model for y'all.
Oh, I love
Fascia
it.
suit.
Fascia
Is this
suit.
tight?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
And once
gotta
again,
go
I
get
want to
the
say
soup for Nannette.
thank you
It's not
to everyone
bedtime.
that followed us. Incredible. We're so happy with the followers. We're just getting started. If you have any requests that you want to make, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Do you feel comfortable doing your workouts? Are you feeling some type of stress? Do you feel tightness and tension in areas and you can't resolve it with what you're doing right now? Go ahead and reach out to us. Ask us questions. This helps us come up with more topics for Grounded in Motion. I feel like Spider-Man. Oh, can I do a crazy pose in this?
Yes, you can do anything you want.
Oh, cool. All right. Let's see something. Let's see what I got. I think I do the other side. Can't leave one side as that. Especially not with the crazy pose. Fascia. All right, let me pick up my hair. Maybe. All right.
Do you have a
Tuck in my
thing?
hair. It's in the suit.
Oh, okay.
I left my scrunchie inside the suit. It's like on my wrist. Sorry, guys.
Okay. So that's going to face forward, and I'm going to give her a fascial restriction where we all have, well, not all, but we have lots of fascial restriction in the low back. So if I pull and I tighten this, you can see how she's already starting to lean this way. Now her body's going to be like, well, we can't walk through space like this. So it's going to try to auto-correct her body. So now she has this pull. Her body's like, well, we can't walk like this. So now it's going to try to create a compensation pattern up the chain or below the chain. And then she's going to try to walk, right? And it's going to inhibit.
Feels tight.
Yeah.
Feels like a tight glute, tight sacrum right there.
Right. So, good.
All right.
So I think that's important to notice that as these parts of our body, lateral hip is good, become tight, it's going to pull, right? And then the brain is so smart because we can't walk through space like this. We got to stand up straight. It's going to create compensations and patterns that are going to compress other parts of the body, turn muscles. This is where our muscle imbalances can come from too. Not always only because of, but now we have muscles that are like, I can't work, I'm inhibited. So the other parts or other muscles, wrong muscles, are going to begin to do that work for her. And then again, lift your arms up.
And there's restriction right here.
Now we have limited range of motion in the arm, and she's going to continue trying to do all the things she wants to do, working out, doing all the things. And all of a sudden, she doesn't have a hip issue. She's going to have a shoulder issue. And everyone's going to address her shoulder issue, which of course it will need some stuff. But we need to look further through the body to see what's going on so that we can help her get and restore the balance through the body. And not only is this compressing like muscles and fascia, but her nerves are being compressed as well. So I think that's really important and a great visual to see.
Absolutely. The arm is definitely a big visual. I'm struggling with this with my clients. It's very connected to all of this. You can definitely feel the restriction. There's a lot of restriction here. Even like foot drops or just
absolutely. I mean, it could be anywhere.
Start to affect the whole thing from the hand all the way to the foot. Just because it's so interconnected. It's just one whole entire thing. You got to think of moving it all together.
Right.
Separate.
I mean, her feet are covered. You might not be able to see it all the way. Her fingers all the way up. I mean, obviously, it's not a actually, there used to be a head piece that would cover her head, but I took it off.
Kind of scary.
But
right?
it's all over. Like if you study Tom Myers, the back line of fascia starts at the bottom of her feet, comes all the way up, all the way over to the top of her forehead.
That's why yoga can be good, such as it mentions the lateral stretching, because it helps you to so gentle. Once again, that gentle stretching, that targeted release
Moving the
technique.
body. It's
You
getting
know.
all of that moving.
Fitness won't get you this. I'm leaving fitness out of this because fitness cannot really
It's
address.
different. Right.
It's very different. So when talking about addressing instabilities and injuries, you want to work, like Malia mentions, with the rolling, with the releasing that area that has that stagnation, and then also practicing like recommended through evidence-based research is those subtle stretches, those targeted stretches. Your fascia is going to respond best to that. And going through these ranges of motion like lateral, flexion, extension, just letting everything move all together. I used to think we moved just in one direction, a lot of hinging, but then I've just discovered that just movement in general, if well guided, if well structured.
Well, I would say rotation is probably one of the most under-trained.
Yes. Yoga has a lot of rotations. A lot of rotation in rotation stretches, like seated twists, which you can do modified seated on the chair. I would climb, but all that stuff. Once again, with good posture and decompressing the person.
100%.
You have to decompress it because you can twist in a poor posture, but you're not doing yourself any service. You're gonna have to lift, lengthen, and then get rotations or get whatever movement you're trying to get into. But regardless, the structure needs to be realigned, decompressed, and then gone through subtle stretches and ranges of motion that are just unique and give the person just a full release.
Absolutely.
And then you have more stuff like training and foundation training style, which is more of that tension, which still feels not like a workout. It's kind of like tension loading. Muscles still working like crazy.
I was like, I'm shaking. When I do
muscles
some
are
of
working
that.
like crazy, but you're loading in that stretch, tensed, length
That eccentric.
position. Yeah. So it gives you a good combo of both getting some muscle tone and also getting those.
Well, because where do we build strength? In the eccentric.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
The concentric, where the muscle shortens, is your power. And the strength is built through those eccentrics. And then if you hold that eccentric, and now it's loaded, whether it's body weight or loaded with bands, weights, whatever, now you're building strength and stability and, like you said, that lengthened, decompressed position.
Contractions, bicep curls.
And we've both worked with athletes who are, we're talking like professional football players built like brick shit houses. You put them in some FT poses and they're like, what is happening to me?
Bodybuilders are the most interesting ones.
Yeah.
You get very tight, big muscles, very little very minimum stabilizers. So.
Correct. So that's incredible. So we love the suit. We love the suit. I have a bone suit too.
Recommendation. Let's make our recommendation. What's the best recommendation we can make? Let's think about it right now. Like if you were a client, we were coming up with something nice for you to help recover, help get your fascia tissues loosened up a little bit. I'm gonna point this down so you guys can see I'm gonna sit down, you can see my full outfit. Kind of cool actually.
It's dope.
So recommendation.
Well, my favorite and the most entry worthy is the balls.
Okay.
Therapeutic self massage balls. I know everyone's like, oh, I'll grab a tennis ball and a lacrosse. Here's the thing: if you have overly tight muscles and fascia, and you try to get on a lacrosse ball, a foam roller, or something like that, your body's not going to release and give it up. It's going to be like, fuck no.
Yeah.
So I love the tune-up yoga balls by Joe Miller because they have give. There's different sizes. There's different softness, hardness, whichever way you want to go. And they get into the areas of the body.
He decided my next pose.
He's like, stretch this. So I think the balls are the best because a foam roller, if you're laying on your back trying to do like a T-spine opener, all you're doing is the most superficial muscle.
Why do I feel like
and your spine.
I feel like the roller, the only thing that I can do on it is a T-spine roll. Like literally. Like I feel like I can't do anything
your
else.
T-spine. That's not doing anything for your fascia.
No, it's not doing anything. There's a very jointy area there.
So we're going to, our next podcast is going to be on self-myofascial release. So we'll do a whole class.
Yes, we'll be doing, next time we'll be just demonstrating techniques that you can do. Malia's going to be teaching me some, I'm going to be teaching some. And my recommendation for you guys, once again, going back, this whole interoception stuff, proprioception, so important. Before you start to do anything, take a moment to sit down, get yourself together. Robert talks about music.
It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, play some music, chill out, you know? Start what you're doing, but so you can, at an interoceptive level, kind of start to get into that communication with your body. And then nice stretch flows.
I think dry needling is a really great thing too.
Dry needling.
So that would definitely, you would need a doctor to do that.
Yes.
Someone who's prescribed, is trained in dry needling. But what I love so much and why it's so different than acupuncture, is because acupuncture just puts the needle in. In dry needling, they twist. So the needle goes in, then they twist. So that fascia is not just being like interrupted. It's being lengthened and twisted up, which is a motherfucker.
And then it gets fired up. It gets fired up.
And then it gets fired up with electricity.
Yeah.
And they stimulate it that way, which will intensely help the body release. So I love dry needling as another way in. He talks about breathing.
Breathing, of course.
I mean,
he talks about music, sound. He talks about humming. That's
chanting.
why I said,
I love to chant.
Yeah.
I was like, of course.
That's why taking a moment, just kind of like put some music on, sing along with your music, something like that. Get your mindset in it, and you can start to do these nice recommendations. Like, even if you're going to go get acupuncture, I recommend you try to get your mind right a little bit. Don't go in there trying to resist the acupuncture needle. You're not going to do yourself a service.
Well, acupuncture is different than dry needling.
Oh, dry needling. Stuff.
I like both. I get both done.
So yeah, look, I had a client go and get adjusted, and he was very tense, and he tensed a lot when he got adjusted, and he was very sore for a long time, for 2 weeks. It was very tough. So
that sounds abusive too.
Yeah, it wasn't even a bad adjustment, but if you're tense and you're like nervous about it, and you're not given a little bit of a moment to kind of relax, and like he mentions, someone guiding you with their voice, making you feel safe, letting you start to kind of let go.
And like, what am I trying? Foreplay for the body, right? Like, so I had some PT work done, but it was a lot of manual therapy, and then he manipulated my neck, as opposed to just going in and then manipulating my neck and cracking it. There was a lot of muscle manipulation. There was a lot of, he was feeling it out, seeing, what was moving, what wasn't, getting all of the muscles of my neck, the traps, the levator, all of the deep, small muscles of the neck, all of that. And like flirting with it, right? It was like floor play. And then he was able to release my neck.
Remember, your community, the fascia is at the state that your feeling is. So if your feelings and your emotions are tense, you're going to have that tension in the fascia. So your stretches, yoga, gentle yoga, breathing, rolling with the balls, professional care, acupuncture, dry needling. She likes dry needling. True acupuncture is different.
They're just different.
Manual therapy.
Well, I hope you guys learned something.
Yeah, this was tough. It's new. We're learning. Hope you're learning. Hope this.
Let's show them a compressed. Well, I think we did. Never mind. We're done.
Ribs.
I have nothing else. Fucking ribs. Stop it.
I love ribs. Good. Well, nicely done ribs. Slow roasted.
6 hours. Slow roasted.
Fall off the bone. That's how you want your muscles to be. All right, enough nonsense.
All right, friends. Well, thank you.
You learned.
Yeah. If you have questions, comments, you know the drill. Drop everything in below. Subscribe, share us.
Do your research. Learn. The more you know, the better you can move.
We both do Zoom options. So, if you want to work with us, there's options to learn more and work with us.
Absolutely.
And next week you will grab some tools and we're going to do a movement class.
Yes, let's do a movement class. Our last video did really good with feedback, with the corrections and stuff like that. So let's do that. We'll have some fascia techniques, release. I'm actually feeling kind of vibey in this whole in your feeling stuff. So I'll probably do a little bit of some breathing next week, given that it's the event also. So I'll do some spinal fluidity and some, just allowing.
Is it spinal awakening?
Just fluidity.
What it would
Bye. I'm gonna leave you with that commercial.
Except without the pill or side effects.
See you next week. Grounded in motion.
To feel every neuron firing and every cell lighting up.
That was funny.
Robbing life.
Oh, look at that, Susie. Good job, boy.